Hello, everyone. John Drennan, sales manager of VIP Mortgage, and I am here today in the VIP podcast studio with a near and dear friend of mine, Andrew Hatherley. He is a certified divorce financial analyst, and he is the host of the Gray Divorce podcast. And I'll tell you what, if you have not seen some of his episodes, first of all, they are awesome. Look them up. And Andrew, just thank you very much for coming in today.
Hey, I'm very happy to be here, John.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, you and I have known each other for many years. We work with many different clients. Your specialty in divorce and my CDLP, Certified Divorce Lending Professional Designation, really matters because divorces are not simple. Even the quick, simple, amicable ones, and all we have, John, is a simple house. It's just not that simple. So, I appreciate you coming in today because I'm all about talking to everybody in the world about my partners, about my business owner friends, and I want to promote you, and I want to let everybody know, number one, you're a rock star at what you do, okay? I do love your podcast. I listen to it. I see it on social media, and you have some great guests. And I also just want to take a moment right at the beginning of our podcast to give a huge shout out to Jody Bruns.
Yes,
she is the owner and president of the Divorce Lending Association. And guess what, Jody? Thank you very much. You introduced Andrew to me a few years back. We've been now communicating, talking. We did a podcast a while ago. You actually quoted me in one of your, you had to write an article for a major magazine. We're going to talk about that today too. And you quoted me on some different things.
It was Kiplinger's.
Yeah, it was Kiplinger's. And we talked about that. We talked about divorces. We talked about reverse mortgages and how a person who's 62 and older going through a divorce, but maybe doesn't have all the income sources, would a reverse mortgage work? And sometimes the answer is yes. So Andrew, once again, thank you very much for coming in. This show is all about you. I want you to tell everybody your journey, your story, who you are, what your specialties are. I love the fact that I can do a lot of different things, but I love how I can also really hone into some specialty items as in the divorces, as in the reverse mortgages, while also just doing traditional mortgages.
Sure.
Somebody comes to you and says, hey, guess what, Andrew? I got money. I want you to help me invest it. And that's a good model match. They don't have to be 62 and older. They don't have to be going through a divorce. You're going to help them. That's how awesome you are. But today we want everybody to know who you are. So once again, thank you for coming in.
Well, thanks very much, John. And yes, divorce is my specialty. I'm a financial advisor, and I've been a financial advisor for more than 25 years. Mm-hmm. But I moved to the divorce niche, or I focused my financial advisory practice on the divorce niche, unsurprisingly, after going through my own divorce.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I was humbled as a financial advisor by how little I knew about the financials of the divorce process when I went through my divorce. And that was 2014/2015. Mm-hmm. It's never a good situation when your divorce is 1 year / another year.
I've actually seen 2014 through 2017, but yes, you're right.
Right. So it ended up being a 9-month process, costing me tens of thousands of dollars. And as a financial advisor, I'm thinking, what a waste of money. And so I determined that the best way that I could add value to working with advisory clients, financial advisory clients, was to help people going through this transaction, which divorce is often the largest financial transaction in someone's life.
Yeah.
So I was 52 when I got divorced. And so I did a bit of research. And I discovered that I was part of a phenomenon known as gray divorce, and that the gray divorce rates had skyrocketed since the early 90s to the present. You look at, say, 1990, I think 8.6% of people getting divorced were over the age of 50. Yep. Well, now it's over 36%. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, this is what happened to me. This is a market of people that I can help. So first of all, I determined to, of course, I had my School of Hard Knocks learning, but I got official certifications, the CDFA, the Certified Divorce Financial Analyst certification, and set up an outside business activity as a divorce financial consultant, which is working with people one-on-one with their attorneys or as couples sometimes, helping them go through the divorce process. And then sometimes those people will become my financial advisory clients after through my advisory practice, Transcend Retirement. So I'm working with people before, during, and after divorce. And 2 years ago, I thought, I want to get the word out on what I'm doing because this is important stuff, and people aren't prepared for this major transition in their lives. So,
and it's an untouched category. Nobody is out there educating and letting people know that this category has skyrocketed in the last 30 years from 8% to 36%.
Yeah.
And I actually have a CE class that I teach to realtors, and it's a 2-hour course designed by Jody Bruns and certified by the state of Nevada. And I use those exact examples because people don't know it. And every realtor in my classes, their eyes go like this, like, are you kidding me? And they ask why and things like that. And we can talk about that at a later date. But yes, you understood with your own, path and something that you kind of went through on your own, School of Hard Knocks a little bit, like you said, you understood that this is something that nobody's really doing, and you can take your education, your experience as sadly a divorcee, but also as a financial advisor, and really open this up and educate the public.
Right. And to that end, the Great Divorce Podcast was founded in October of 2022. And I never thought that at 59 years of age, I'd be starting a podcast. But here we are 2.5 years later, 2.25 years later. And I just recorded episode 60 yesterday.
Wow.
And it's been a great experience. And I'm sure you found the same hosting your own podcast, is that it's not only good from a business standpoint, in terms of clients coming to me wanting help managing their funds after divorce or help going through divorce, but it's an opportunity to meet great people,
correct?
To learn more about areas that you may not be as familiar. I mean, I have all sorts of people on the podcast: therapists, attorneys, dating coaches. There's a whole world of things that can be learned about what people are going through in late life divorce. So the podcast has been, an inspiring part of my journey because it's really got me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Before divorce, I was not the sort of person who liked to talk in public. And as you can see now, you can't shut me up.
Exactly. And that's why I tell everybody when we started this, I said, look him up. This is not just, hi, my name is Andrew. I'm going to talk about some black and white numbers and give you stats, and I'm on my 60th episode. No, you got some great guests. And let's be honest, you're 25 years old and you break up with your girlfriend. Times are tough, okay? But you got the world ahead of you. We're talking about individuals, sometimes with children, sometimes without. Sometimes, I've seen people literally stay married until the last kid graduates high school. And then the moment that kid graduates high school, they're like, well, we only stayed together because of the kids. Now we're getting divorced. How do you start your life over at 40, 50, 60? And you experienced it. And that's why you have the experience to talk about it. You're vulnerable, right? You're going to tell your story, and you have, but you also bring great guests on your show so that people understand that it's not just finances. It's how do you get past this? How do you do this? And there's a lot of people that they are afraid, and you are truly therapeutically helping them. And I believe that.
Well, you hit a couple points, right on the head there, John. First of all, that's the big distinction with gray divorce, which is defined as divorce over the age of 50. But really, it's people in their 60s that are showing the highest rates of divorce. The key issue is that you don't have the time to recover that you do when you're 25, 35, or even 45. You may be approaching retirement. You may be in retirement. And with divorce, as I said previously, being the largest financial transaction in your lives often, you need to get it right. And you need to speak to a financial advisor who understands divorce. You would need to work with attorneys who are right for your particular case. You don't always need the shark attorney who's going to rake your soon-to-be ex over the coals. Those guys don't drive the Audis and send their kids to private schools on the back of simple divorces.
Exactly.
They want to some of them want to drag things out. There are a lot of good attorneys out there who are tired of the divorce industrial complex, as some of us call it, and strive for a settlement quickly. And if that can be done, all the better, because you save money, you save mental exhaustion.
Oh my gosh!
And you get on with your life. You get on with your life so much sooner.
And you know what? There's going to be simple divorces. Okay,
Sure.
Husband and wife, maybe they're school teachers here at Clark County School District. They bought a house 3, 4, 5 years ago, and he has his pension, but he can't touch it until he retires. She has hers. Maybe they have a 403B. Maybe they have a 457B. These are items that government employees can get. Maybe they have a little bit here and there, and they get a divorce. And that doesn't need to take 9 months. But I'm sorry, but if you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you're probably going to need one of those sharks because it can take 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and because you're
doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to.
I've been involved in cases with high net worth divorces that have gone very quickly.
Well, that's good. That's good because unfortunately we don't hear the good stories, Andrew. We only hear the horror stories.
Yeah. Well, I always like it when prospects come to me before they've hired an attorney, because I can get a sense for what their situation is, and I've got attorney contacts around the country, and I've got a good idea of who'd be a suitable
model match.
Match for their particular situation. So the other thing is you talked about my experience, and I think people appreciate. There's a saying in the marketing world. I think Simon Sinek said it that people don't care so much what you do; they care why you do it. And why I do what I do is I want to help people learn from my experience and avoid potential mistakes, and to be the best contributing members of society they can, because we all want that. Of course. We all want to share the world with people who have a smile on their face and have a purpose.
I agree.
And are healthy contributors to the world. And of course, that starts inside. That starts by getting your own act together. And for me, my financial advisory practice does incorporate an element of the psychological and of the personal growth. And I think this is one of the big reasons for the growth in Gray Divorce is that people are living longer.
True.
And they're realizing, here I am 60, I just can't wake up next to this person anymore. I've got another 20, 30 years left in my life, and I want to experience those years to the best I can. Yeah. Well, with the increase in longevity in the world today, you can, and the personal development literature is out there, is just encouraging people to be the best versions of themselves that they can be, which is a good thing.
Amen. Well, I want to touch a couple of different things that you just said there. Number one, I talk about this when people buy houses. Okay. This is not, I bought a nice pair of shoes and went to the club. They rubbed my heel and gave me a blister and I threw them back in the closet. We're talking about big decisions here, okay? You buy a house. You just can't arbitrarily liquidate that house 3 days later. You can't do that. And what people don't understand is there's amazing financial advisors out there. There are amazing attorneys out there. There's amazing CPAs. But if everybody's not on the same page and understanding why, once again, we're going back to your why we're doing what we're doing, and understanding that this doesn't need to be complex, or this aspect does need to be complex. And what is the end game? I tell everybody, I can help negotiate your settlement agreement. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CDFA, and I'm not a CPA. But what I am is a CDLP, which can allow you to help navigate these murky, choppy waters of a divorce. Even an amicable divorce, we're going to have some chop in there. And all I care about is you coming out mortgage friendly. Because if you want to sell your guys' house and buy houses in the future, I'm personally licensed in 18 states, so maybe one person stays in Nevada and one person moves, whatever it may be. We're just here on the same page. The other thing I want to talk about is I'm in a referral group called BNI. Okay, BNI has been worldwide forever, but the number one principle is giver's gain. And that's what you're doing every day, Andrew. You're giving the education, you're giving the empathy, you're giving my personal experience, and it's coming from the inside. And I always tell everybody, I'm not in competition with anybody. I want everybody to succeed. There's plenty of fish in the pond. Let's all succeed, and I'd like that would be a happier life versus, hey, what can I do to make your life more miserable? I don't like that. So I really like what you're talking about. And once again, I'm going to keep going back to it. Go to his podcast, and we're going to be promoting this on social media because, like you said, you just shot your 60th episode. They don't come out in 12 seconds, but I mean, he has over 50 episodes in the world that we live in, and I'm telling you what, you watch some might not be really applicable to you, but there's plenty that are, and I'm not divorced. And I am married and I got kids, but I really enjoy your podcast because they're so informational.
Well, I really appreciate that, John. And yes, there's a wide variety of information that affects every aspect of a person's life, not just people going through divorce, but obviously that is the focus. But you mentioned so many great points there that I want to touch on. There's a lot of good points you made. Let me deal with the last one first about giver's gain. And coming at business and approaching life from a spirit of abundance rather than scarcity. Yep. I don't see anybody as my competition. There are people who do what I do, but there are plenty of people out there getting divorced, needing help. I can't deal with every single person.
Yeah, like, can I close all 3,000 transactions in Clark County every month? No, I can get my fair share, and I can help a lot of people.
Right, and
Yep.
I do believe in the saying that a rising tide lifts all boats, and the more that I can get the word out on the gray divorce phenomenon and help people put a dent in this divorce industrial complex, which really is a damaging
It is.
a damaging event, both financially and emotionally,
And
the
physically.
better.
I actually just had somebody, he got sued in a lawsuit about real estate. And in the last 2 years, he's had health problems in the hospital
Yeah.
and a divorce.
Yeah.
So it's not just emotional, it can be physical. I mean, we're talking about heart issues. Yeah. So
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And with divorce, you can go through a vicious cycle or you can go through a virtuous cycle. And we know what the vicious cycle is alcohol, promiscuity, drugs, resentment, bitterness, and it could just, cycle downwards.
yeah.
No one's saying divorce is easy.
No.
But if you approach it from the point of view, okay, all right, what can I do to make myself stronger here, to make myself resilient? And people are resilient. I did a podcast on the subject of post-traumatic growth, and people really can grow from this. But simple things like getting a good night's sleep, waking up with more energy, which may actually trigger you to go to the gym. And then go into the gym. That might trigger you to have a better diet because you don't want to waste all that time at the gym, eating lousy food, and just these little things. And I went through this experience. I mean, I was not particularly happy going through the divorce, or even a year after the divorce. But within a year, I started going to Toastmasters.
Oh, nice.
Because I was doing workshops, educating people about divorce. And that required speaking in public. And if I'm going to speak in public, I want to have some idea what I'm doing. And of course, I was terrified by the notion of speaking in public. So I went to Toastmasters, which was great because it really got me outside that comfort
Yes,
zone.
it's a great organization.
It is. And there's a great book by a fellow named James Clear called Atomic Habits.
Yes.
And he talks about just starting off doing one thing regularly and build on that. So I started off not eating after 6 o'clock at night. And ultimately, that led to a better night's sleep. And the better night's sleep woke up to waking up feeling energized.
Yep, refreshed.
And then I thought, okay, I keep hearing about meditation. Let's try this meditation. I thought, wow, this is nice. It really clears my head. And then I said, well, I'm energized. Let's go to the gym. And gym, one of the surprise things about the gym for me is that I was never a gym rat.
Yeah.
And I always thought, those guys are just, muscle-bound dummies going to the gym.
Meatheads, they call them.
Meatheads, that's it. And but I found out that just a good workout, yes, has physical benefits, but the mental benefits, you just feel better mentally, clarity, energy. And of course, that can translate to your work. This is the idea of the virtuous cycle and building on these positive habits. So that's something that I try to get across in the podcast.
And you know what's crazy about what you're saying is no matter which direction you go, the end result's still there. So you got two choices. You can go down that vicious one or the other one. Do you see what I'm saying? And when people don't know that, and people need to know that it's going to be okay. And people need to know that they're not alone. And that's also what you're doing.
Well, okay. No, you raised something very important here because people need to know they're not alone. And in divorce, is so important to surround yourself because there's a concept called divorce brain.
Okay.
I went through this, and a lot of people going through stressful divorces, they haven't experienced it before. They don't know what they're doing. Their fear meter is running high. They're worried that if, in my case, I was worried, am I going to have to work for the rest of my life to pay spousal support? Yeah. No, that was never going to happen due to the details of my divorce. But you worry about nonsense.
You worry
like
about everything.
You worry about everything, which is why you need to have a team of divorce professionals.
Amen.
And I've really hit this point in the podcast often, and I speak to a lot of these different divorce professionals. And I think a certified divorce lending professional such as yourself, and shout out to Jody Bruns, who's getting the word out on the importance of what you do, that's a no-brainer, particularly if there's real estate involved, and there's usually real estate involved.
Yes, sir.
You guys play such an important role in the divorce process because typically real estate and retirement plans are the two largest assets that people have. And in later life, in gray divorce, CDLPs such as yourself play a tremendous role in telling people about the options they may have
Correct.
with respect to home equity conversion mortgages, which is can be a tremendous solution for cash flow issues. And believe me, divorce usually involves some cash flow issues.
You're saying that.
So, and so people come back and they say, quite often, well, that's expensive. I've got an attorney to pay. I've got a financial advisor, a certified divorce lending professional, a therapist. You know what? More often than not, it's less expensive to have these 4 professionals than to expect your attorney to do everything.
Yeah.
Because attorneys aren't trained in finances.
Nope.
Attorneys aren't trained in mortgages.
Correct.
And real estate. And Lord knows every attorney may have a box of Kleenex on their conference table.
Yeah.
But they're not trained in regulating people's emotions.
Correct.
But the people who are typically charge fees that are substantially less than attorneys. So do you want to be paying your $400 or $500 an hour attorney for half an hour while you're crying in the conference room? That's $250 wasted right there. You could have had an hour or 2 hours with a trained therapist helping you not only in the divorce process but for the rest of your life.
You're going to say life. Yeah.
Right. And similar with myself as a divorce financial planner, attorneys aren't trained in finances, and at $225, $250 an hour, I can provide in my divorce consulting business. Provide that service for half of what an attorney would, and really the quality of information.
Well, yeah, you're getting 10 times more of the quality of the information.
You're getting better quality at less price.
Yeah.
And of course, with certified divorce lending professionals, you don't even get paid during the divorce process. If I understand correctly, you only get paid if, in fact, a mortgage is the result of.
Correct. Yeah. In the last 12 months, we do have the ability to create a fee-based practice, and at this moment, I've chosen not to. I'm really just focusing on the end result of the mortgage-friendly result, and then helping people, give them the guidance and advice for real estate. So you're 100% right. I actually had a client call me yesterday and said, my client or my realtor partner says, my client doesn't want to call an attorney to ask this question. I'm like, okay, $800 an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she goes, are you still free? I said, I'm still free. And she's like, he won't tell you his name. I'm like, just tell him to call me and mention your name so I'll know who he is.
Right.
But yeah, you're 100% right. Everybody has their specialty, okay? And if I've been doing this for 26 years, I've been licensed in multiple states, I've worked with thousands of clients. We want what's best for them and giving them the guidance and advice. And there's certain industries, as an attorney, as your divorce analysis and everything that you do, yes, you're gonna have an hourly wage. That's part of the world. But I'm not going to go to a general doctor, doesn't matter how much it costs, if I'm having heart problems.
All right.
Okay? So guess what? You're having heart problems, which is your divorce. So go to the specialist who know what they're doing, and they're the ones that are going to help you get there. And once again, you can take the path of positivity or the path of negativity, but the end result is that divorce is going to be finalized at some point. It's kind of like when I tell people to go to college. There's college. I think college is wasting money for a lot of people, and I think college is 100% worth every dime for a lot of people.
Amen.
But you know what college does for you? You started and you ended. That's it. So guess what? When you start that divorce, unless you guys reconcile, it's got to come to an end at one point. How you get there is going to be your choice.
Yeah. Well, ideally, it's done quickly, it's done properly, and with as least and as a financial planner, and I work with people. When I'm working with people in divorce, it may be 2 weeks, it may be 2 months, it may be, heaven help us, in some cases 2 years.
Those are the ones I talked about.
And in my divorce consulting business, that's where I charge the hourly fee based on a retainer. But what I'm trying to do in my financial work during the divorce is to help the client and their attorney set the client up for the rest of their life. From a financial planning perspective. And this is where having the involvement of a CDLP such as yourself can help in crafting a settlement agreement that makes sense, not just in terms of splitting the assets now, but looks at, how can we craft this agreement so this person qualifies for a mortgage going forward.
Yep.
If they're older, is there the potential for using a home equity conversion mortgage that can improve their cash flow going forward? And so when I work with people during divorce, I'm trying to set it up so that in some cases I'll work with them after divorce as a financial advisor.
Correct.
And that's a long-term relationship, but it's based on this solid foundation, hopefully,
Yep.
that we've arrived at in the divorce. And that happens by having financial professionals, mortgage professionals, therapists, as well as attorneys,
Of course.
involved in the process as early as possible.
Yep.
And divorce is not it's never going to be cheap, and in some cases it's very simple, and people, they could do it themselves, although I never recommend that people do it entirely themselves. I think they should always seek at least a legal consultation. The last thing you want is to do, and I did a podcast episode on the dangers of do-it-yourself divorce. You don't have to pay an attorney a lot. You can just pay him for a couple of hours consultation, but you want, in these very simple cases where there's not much in the way of assets, you don't want to have to revisit the divorce 2 or 3 years down the road because you've made mistakes putting it together yourself. So I even in the most simplest cases, there should be some expert advice.
I completely agree, because what is the end result after the end result? What are you trying to do? I mean, okay, you got two people in the state of Nevada, community property state. They straight up just have $1 million. They just rent. You just have straight up $1 million cash, literally in a checking account. John, just split that down the middle. No. Okay. Who works? Who doesn't work? Who makes more money? Who doesn't make as much money? What are we really doing here? We have to set these people up for success afterwards. What the simplest rule in divorces and in mortgages and in child support / alimony is the 6 and 36 rule. And if you know what I'm talking about, but most people don't. That means 6 months receipt and 36 months continuance. So if you come to me and say, John, I got $20,000 a month in alimony and I got it for 3 years in the John Drennan stupid mortgage world, and that's what I call it, after 26 years, guess what? You have zero income, because I don't have 6 months receipt and I don't have 36 months of continuance. If you would have consulted with me, or because you know the rule, you would have said, hey, what is $20,000 over 36 months? Let's break that $720,000. Let's break it down over 48 months. Let's go ahead and get the 6. Now you have the 36 and give John 6 months to make sure he can take care of you. And if you don't know that rule, which I know you do, but there might be financial advisors that don't. And once again, attorneys, a lot of them might know that rule, but a lot of them are just like, hey, my job is to make this amicable and split it right down the middle. And so they're not thinking after the fact. They look at it as, I have a project in front of me. It's Mr. and Mrs. Smith getting divorced. My project is to split it down the middle and move on, collect my fee. And I'm not being disrespectful to attorneys. There's a lot of great ones, and there's a lot of ones that might not be as good, just like in mortgage people, CPAs, financial advisors. But if you don't know how it affects you in the mortgage world, that's why I got the certification, because I wanted to know what can be done to make sure we're protecting people. Because as soon as the judge goes boom, boom, and it's official, it takes more time, energy, and money to open that thing back up and try to fix it.
Right. The attorney may be able to craft a good legal settlement.
Exactly.
But it may not be a good financial or real estate settlement. And dealing with people later in life, they need to get all these things right because they simply don't have the time to recover. And if you're 62 years old, you're probably not going to be looking for a job. If, let's say, you haven't worked for 10, 15 years, how hard is it? And I know that you can't discriminate on age. I know we have federal laws. But at the same time, if I'm 65 years old and I've been married for 45 years and I haven't worked in the last 15 for whatever reason, maybe it was just financial reasons, and I was the one who did things around the house, and that happens a lot, more often than people know. The man stays at home versus the woman, and all of a sudden I'm 65 years old. Where am I going to go? I have no job history in the last 15 years, and I'm going to go try to work a job that a 30-year-old is probably going to get. We have to think about that. Mortgage friendly, financial advice friendly. We got to make sure it's tax friendly too. We got to get the CPAs involved. We got to make sure everybody's on the same page, not just coming up with a very black and white, simple legal result, which is awesome. But if it's not mortgage friendly, not financial friendly, not tax friendly, we can put them in harm's way. Yeah, no, you mentioned something very important about another implication for gray divorce is not just the time left in their lives because they're older. Health issues can come into play. And as you say, entering or re-entering the workforce in their 60s or 70s, and sometimes it's not possible because of health issues. But certainly in terms of the new skills and qualifications, I mean, we're in a very fancy podcast studio here. People doing podcasts, artificial intelligence. There's lots of things that people need to learn. And even if they do, even if the particular person is eminently skilled and qualified, there still exists what I sometimes call the last acceptable prejudice, which is ageism.
Yeah.
It's like no prejudice is acceptable, but it seems that it's okay still to discriminate on the basis of age, and which is really counterproductive for many employers because people in the 50s and 60s and 70s, I think, have a pretty good work ethic compared to a lot of people.
When you look at the generational stats.
There's quite a bit of job hopping in the 20 and 30-year-olds these days.
Oh, I mean, I see it all the time. I mean, I'm working with some clients right now, and one person's been at your job for 9 years, but the other spouse, 7 different jobs. Now, this person's not a job hopper. In the type of industry she does, it is commonplace to kind of be headhunted, and you're just going as high as you can go until you get to the top, and it's not really anything crazy, but I got to have a 2+ year work history. I got to get 7 verifications of employment. I got to be able to justify to the underwriter that these were all like this. So yeah, you're 100% right. Somebody back in the day, everybody got their job and they worked there for 30 years. And then they retired. And that's when, we had the
pension.
Yeah, with the pension. I was just going to say the pension, the manufacturing jobs, all the different things like that. Yeah, I agree. Well, you know what, Andrew? It's been beyond a pleasure. I hope and pray we can do another one and just keep elaborating. Jody Bruns, another huge shout out. The Great Divorce Podcast. You got to search it online. Great stuff. When you walk the walk and talk the talk, it brings a lot more, okay? Back in the day, economic collapse, multiple properties. Where was all my income invested in? Well, my investments were invested in real estate. Where's my income coming from? Mortgages, real estate. And guess what? It all collapsed. I had to file a business bankruptcy, okay? I'm not ashamed to say it because guess what? It happened. And there was a lot better people and richer people than I that had to do the same thing.
Life happens.
Life happens. And that was a tough one. But what my point was, I was helping so many people who had to do the same thing. The short sale, the foreclosures, the bankruptcies. And we were helping them in the late 2000s, then the early 2010s. And it was I felt that I could reach out and shake hands with somebody versus somebody feeling like I'm on a pedestal, like I'm talking down to them, because I've been down that road. I walked that walk. I talked that walk. And I could say, talk that talk. And I could say, guess what? I've been there. I understand how bad it feels financially, credit-wise. You got to reestablish that credit. How bad you kind of feel like you're a little bit of I felt like I was a little bit of a loser. Like I let my family down. But, it was a life event.
Same in divorce.
Yep. And the fact that you went through it. And it'd be like a 25-year-old who's never been married going, I'm going to do the Great Divorce Podcast. Right. Come on, that's not going to go anywhere. No,
people can see when you're authentic.
Yes.
When you've got a passion about what you do, when there's a reason for what you do.
The why.
The why.
The why. I love that when you started the podcast with that, the why.
And that's so much more important. I mean, yes, we need to pay the rent, pay the mortgage, put food on the table, raise our kids, et cetera. But I think we're all much more productive, happier members of society when we're doing something that we're passionate about.
Yeah, and I'm passionate about helping people. I love when individuals see my passion and then say, do you know this person? Because this person's passionate about something similar. Let me put you guys together. And that's another thing. You've introduced me to different people in different genres and different industries because of like-minded people, model matches. And you're like, hey, you got to go see my guy, John Drennan. And, you've sent me some referrals, just straight up people looking for houses. You're like, hey, you're not going through a divorce. You need a mortgage. And there's not another person like John Drennan. And I love those compliments. I love those referrals because it means the world to me. And I love the model match the best we can. Sometimes what we think is a great model match doesn't work out. But, hey, life happens. But we're doing the right thing. So you're doing the right thing. You're doing it all the time. Now you have 60 podcasts. Once again, please look it up. Andrew, you're amazing. I can't speak enough about what you've done for so many different people. And, there's literally no one that I know that has the empathy for the entire process. From the moment that somebody says to the other spouse, I think we should get a divorce, all the way to the end. I mean, you're there from the start to the end. And guess what? Everybody, please understand. Let Andrew and I get there at the beginning, okay? Because we can help out a lot,
definitely.
give you the guidance and advice. Like you said, model match the attorneys. You got attorneys nationwide, and we want to make sure that we're helping everybody the best we can because we want everybody smiling. We want all of us to be winners, okay? And I'm not the winners guy who says, here's your participation trophy. But the point is, if Andrew's a successful financial analyst and I'm a successful mortgage guy and Susie's a successful realtor and Timmy's a successful attorney, there's plenty of business out there. And if you do it the right way and you care about the people first and go back to that giver's gain education, you're not alone out there. Yeah. You're not alone. If you're 50, 60, 70, and you haven't worked in many years, you have, a house, you have nice retirement savings, you're working, your spouse is working, and you're just like, I want a divorce. Guess what? There's people like us who have our certifications, who have the experience, and we're here to help you go step by step. You're not alone.
Well said, brother.
Perfect. Well, once again, Andrew, thank you very much for coming in, and we'll be talking real soon.
Great. Thank you very much.
Awesome.